Hello there, Enchanted Sisters. It's Sarah here, founder of the Sisters Enchanted, head magic maker here at the Sisters Enchanted. It's our mission to make magic mainstream, in case you didn't know that. And I am here for an impromptu chat about time. So how silly is it that my chat about time was not planned, was not timed? So, yeah, we're going to talk today, as the description of this video says, about living by magical time in a Muggle world. As you come and watch this, feel free to say hi, let me know that you're here, and remember you're on the replay if it doesn't say live, which is all well and good and amazing. You can always tag me with any questions or thoughts or anything like that. I'd love to see what you're thinking about. So, I see there's a few of you here. Feel free to say hello. Hello. And we're going to talk, like I said, about living by magical time in a Muggle world. The reason that I decided to come talk about this today was, one, I didn't talk to you guys like in a few days, so I wanted to say hi. Hi, Andrea. Thank you for saying hi. And two, it's the Witch's New Year. Tomorrow is Witch's New Year, so to speak. Halloween, All Hallows Eve, Beltane is the Witch's New Year. And just like January 31st, New Year's Eve, we can celebrate the Witch's New Year in the same way, with some of the same things: goal setting, leaving behind, moving forward, all that cool stuff. But what is a witch to do when she celebrates the Witch's New Year now, and then we have New Year's Eve again on January 31st? Similar to like Yule. We have Yule, usually like that third weeks or so of December here in the Northern Hemisphere, and then we have Christmas right after, and so it's like you're doing things two times. With the Witch's New Year in particular, and this idea of beginnings, we see a lot of opportunity for new beginnings in the magical world. We have new moons, we have full moons, we have Beltane, the entrance into the light half of the year. We have, of course, Samhain and the Witch's New Year. So we have all of these opportunities for a fresh start. And it can kind of, when you think about it, it can kind of feel like, well, it's always a fresh start. So I can just do everything another time. And like, how do we honor the Witch's New Year now when there's also the end of the calendar year coming up? Or how do we do, like, if we're living by lunar time, so the beginning of our month is the new moon, but like everybody else's month is the first of the month. How do we make those two things work together? And so that's what we're going to talk about. Hi, Sarah and Cinnamon. Magically just in time. Nice to see you, Cinnamon. Haven't seen you in a while, I feel like. So hello, hope you're doing well. So yeah, okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. First and foremost, like I always say, there's no right or wrong way to do any of this. You can do whatever feels good for you. If you want to celebrate the Witch's New Year and then like the standard New Year's Eve on on December 31st with everybody else, you can do that. I think though that there is kind of a little bit of a choice to be made. Like, are we going to honor the cycles of time, like the seasonal changes, the cyclical nature of the year? Or are you going to follow your regular calendar? Now, as a business owner, I will say that gets a little tricky because in business, everything's very cut and dry. So we have like our sales for the calendar month, like all of November, or like the year 2018. Nobody cares about my lunar year. The federal government does not care about my lunar year. They care about my calendar year. So what can you do to reconcile this? I think that you can try different things over time and see what works for you, first and foremost, and then go with that thing. But you can start to feel into where does it make sense for you. So right now at Samhain with the Witch's New Year, does it make sense for you to, can you feel the season shifting around you? Do you feel the tides of the seasons moving? Do you feel it getting colder? Maybe where you live, there's not a big difference, so it doesn't make a ton of difference to you. Maybe you're like, I don't know, seasonally, we don't really have 4 seasons. It doesn't matter so much. I'm just gonna move the camera a little bit. Or do you notice that it's shifting? Maybe tomorrow, the 31st, for Beltane and Samhain doesn't feel very New Year's-like to you. Maybe for you, you wait until the first frost, or you wait till the new moon in Scorpio or something like that. I think what's important is that you decide, like, what is your new year period? What feels really good for you? And then you can honor that time, honor your own little new year, your own, like, witch's new year. And then come December 31st, when everybody else, all the muggles out there, are celebrating New Year's Eve, you can use that as just a time to reaffirm your goals moving forward. So you don't have to ignore it as a commercial sort of thing. You don't have to ignore it as a man-made time because, you know, you're magically inclined and you follow the seasons, and you don't have to do that. You can set your intentions now. I actually, tomorrow am doing, like, I have my whole afternoon planned to do a big, like, planning session. So for me, I'm honoring, like, kind of both the Witch's New Year, and I'm also, though, working with Muggle time. Because on November 1st, I'm going to spend my afternoon tomorrow planning my 2019. So and again, you know, I am a business owner, so I do have to plan probably more things than the average person, but I'm going to spend my New Year's Day, so to speak, my witch's New Year day, I guess. I am going to spend this day, this in-between time, the day where we honor the dead and our ancestors, and I'm going to, like, look into this energy of how I want to feel, deeply rooted in my connection with all that is, and plan for the calendar year. So I'm still honoring my New Year time, but I'm planning for the calendar year. So I'm kind of mixing the magical with the Muggle there. So for you, choose what feels good for you. And then when it comes to tracking, like, lunar cycles versus calendar months, I think that there's a lot of people now, and we have actually, like, even in one of our classes, our Moon Magic class, we have this whole printable for this lunar magic or a lunar cycle notebook, and it's tracking a whole year's worth of lunar cycles. And then you have your own little moon grimoire at the end of the year, like how you react to the different lunar cycles. So you can still track, hi Ellie, you can still track something like lunar cycles and live by lunar time within a calendar month. I know that there's a few people in our group, hi Michelle, I know Michelle is one of them, who keeps her lunar tracker, I believe anyway, in her regular, like, Muggle planner. So you can do them side by side. You don't have to pick one or the other, or feel like you're less magical because you're following the regular New Year's Eve and the regular calendar months. You can do them together. I think that when you start shifting into natural cycles and natural rhythms, like this Witch's New Year, it's not just about, like, being a witch and like witches and things. It's really about honoring the cycles of the season. So where everything is dying, we're getting colder, well, in the northern hemisphere anyway, everything's dying, it's getting colder, it's a different atmosphere. And because the outward world is different, that's impacting us, how we're living is different. And so I think that when you start living by kind of natural time, whether that's lunar time, seasons, the wheel of the year, whatever it looks like for you, I think that you will naturally sort of start to pay a little bit less attention to, not that it goes away, because we all live in the Muggle world where we need to know what day it is and what time our doctor's appointment is and things like that. But your choices will start to be more rhythm-based and less calendar-based, which is going to make your life feel more at ease. So my whole premise here, my whole point is that you kind of got to blend the magical with the Muggle. And the more, though, that you put the magical timekeeping into your Muggle calendar, the better all of this stuff is going to feel, and the better able you're going to be to make plans in the Muggle world according to your best times and your best inspiration. So again, for anybody who came on later, my way of celebrating the Witch's New Year, we're going trick-or-treating because I have kids, so we're going trick-or-treating. Anna is coming over here tomorrow night, and we're going to spend some sister time together. And then on November 1st, so in 2 days, I have a whole planning session, like, scheduled in on my Muggle calendar with sticky notes and highlighters and pens, and I'm going to plan my calendar year for 2019. So like the rest of this year and 2019. So that's blending the Muggle with the magical, right? But because I track my lunar cycles, I follow the wheel of the year, I make choices based on seasonality, when I feel best, what season that I'm in. So I take all this magical, like the ebbs and flows and the movement of the seasons, and I sort of place that on top of my Muggle calendar, and it allows me to make choices that I know are going to feel better in the long run. So you don't have to. It can be like when people, especially, I know that we have a lot of people in this group that are kind of like witch curious or magical curious, or sort of feeling a pull towards like crystals or tarot cards or things like that. And you start hearing all this stuff like the Witch's New Year and Samhain and like Yule, and I don't know what to do. But you don't have to like, there's nothing wrong with tracking your Muggle time, because we live in a human world, and there's just a lot to be learned from tracking and living by the seasons, but then kind of laying it on top of your Muggle calendar. So in my mind's eye, I see like a whole year's worth of calendars with like those pretty vellum sheets on top with like the magical calendar on top. In my mind, that's how I see it anyway. And I'm making choices based on based on seasonality, but fitting it into your Muggle life. And it's a similar concept for every day of your life. So each day, and we do talk about this kind of in our lunar, sorry, I'm going to move a bag that's at my feet. So Michelle says that's exactly what I do. Yeah. I thought of you, Michelle, when I was thinking about this. So I was like, I know Michelle Wenzel is doing these things. So even in your day, there is a whole method of time tracking your day cyclically. So so this is a lunar tracker. So this has too many spots in it. But say that this was like a circle of your day. So instead of doing like a list down and indicating that time is linear, like it's midnight till like 11:59 for one day, where you do that in a circle, and you can actually look at the points in your day that are kind of your summer season, your spring season, your summer season, your autumn season, and your winter season, and plan for your day. Like, when are you in your spring? Like, when are you waking up and you're the brightest, you're really fresh and you're like ready for things? Like, plan your stuff that maybe needs that spring energy. Or when are you like at your, I guess this would be at your best. You're at your best. You're fully functional. You're awake. You're totally awake. That's like the summer portion of your day. And so what kinds of things should you schedule into the summer portion of your day? And then when are you starting to die off? You're like kind of sleepy, but you still look really good. Like you don't have bedhead yet. You're like, maybe you need a little pick me up, but things, you can still be presentable. That's like your autumn. So what kinds of things would you schedule for your autumn period? And then the winter part of your day, that's when you're like, you're in your jammies and you're not answering the door. Maybe you're sleeping. You're probably sleeping. And that's your winter. So like, what do you schedule in there? Probably nothing. And so you can look at your own day in those cycles too. So our lunar cycles are the same. Our lunar cycles are, you have a part of your lunar cycle that is like the spring part, the summer part, and our seasons are no different. And so like paying attention to that on top of Muggle time, it can be really helpful, especially like if you work in an office or wherever, if you work outside the home, wherever you work, having to work with other people and knowing like, all right, well, this is my summer period. So this is when I should try to schedule my meetings. This is when I should try to schedule that job interview because it's my summer time of the day. During the autumn time of my day, I'm not really firing in all cylinders. So I probably don't want to like do so much communication if I can avoid it during that, or however it works for you. But we have this going on. And again, though, we all live in the Muggle world, so you still need to know that, like, the live chat is at 11 a.m. or whatever time. I can't just say, like, oh, it's at 1/4 summer, because that would mean nothing to anybody besides me. So we need to know these times, but kind of think of it as layers, and you can honor both. So if you want to honor the Witch's New Year and do some planning, which is what I'm going to do, you don't have to do planning. You can practice November 1st as like a quiet day, an ancestral day where you're honoring your ancestors. I'm going to use that. I think we're going to actually go to the cemeteries today and visit my father-in-law and my husband's grandmother. Is that like my grandmother-in-law? I don't know. We're going to go visit them today, I think. And then tomorrow we have our trick-or-treating. And like I said, Anna's coming over tomorrow night. And then on Thursday, I blocked off a whole afternoon for all my hopes and dreams and planning purposes. But the idea for me in doing that is that the veil is thinner, and so I can hopefully hear myself better and actually, even though I plan that time in, connect to my cycles better. Like I will better be able to hear my higher self, my inner wisdom come through and know like, okay, this is going to feel good to do it this time of the year and not let my ego get so much in the way. And then come January 31st, when everybody else is counting down the ball dropping and kicking back champagne or whatever, you can just have that time to reaffirm to yourself, like, okay, this was my commitment for this year at the Witch's New Year. And you can have your own little time to do that while still celebrating the Muggle New Year. So you can celebrate the Witch's New Year and then integrate that into the Muggle New Year in 2 months from now. And then with each new moon, you have this same time to start over again. And you can do the same thing, like with each first of the month, reaffirm to yourself, this is what I'm doing this lunar cycle. This is what I'm doing this lunar cycle. And like check in with yourself, like laying it over the Muggle time. You don't have to pick and choose. You can do both. And in fact, you should do both. So I'm going to go back through the comments here. Let's see here. Somebody said something. Oh, Elizabeth up here said, my husband and I are celebrating tonight by carving pumpkins and doing a ritual. Since tomorrow we have juggling club. That sounds amazing. Fun fact, guys, Mr. Enchanted can juggle. Maybe I will get him to do that on camera one day. Probably not. I love that you guys do that together, Elizabeth. Thanks for sharing that. Ellie making a planner for the Witch's New Year. Yeah, Nick and I are working on a little retrograde project. We went back and forth about whether we should start it at the Witch's New Year or the calendar year or the new moon in Scorpio. Like, we couldn't decide. Ultimately, we decided to go with the Muggle calendar. But yeah, it was a toss-up what we were going to do. So, yes, Ellie, make yourself one. I know you're crafty like that. Sarah says, I have 3 like-minded friends coming tomorrow. I've been cooking all day as last day of half-term break. Back at school, still feels like the eve of a festival to me. Try to combine magic and Muggle timing too. Plan and manifest and evaluate on lunar and magic time. And Sarah, as a teacher, I have 3 years to juggle calendar, school year, and magical. I believe it. I believe it. Let's see here. Amanda Yost is a night owl. Well, honor those cycles for you, Amanda. So for you, like if you're a night owl, your time's going to shift, right? So your springtime, I don't know, might be like 9 a.m. to noon, like if you're just kind of waking up, and then your summer would be later in the day. Like my summertime when I'm firing at 110% is like 8 a.m. to like probably like 1:30 p.m. And then after that I start to die off. Erica said, or actually maybe like 6 a.m. I'm a morning person. So that's like my summer though. So when, adjust for your summer. Erica struggles with scheduling organization. I think tracking is going to help. Probably, yeah. Amanda, yeah, well listen back on this video and take any notes to see what would help you with any of this. And yeah, take what works and leave the rest behind. Elizabeth says, I love juggling, super fun skill to have and not hard to learn, just have to practice. Nick's off to do the reading, not to juggle. Yes, Nick does juggle. So just balls, he's telling us. One of the things he learned. So Amanda, you can rewatch this video. We have a class about tracking, and it's our lunar cycle notebook class. But otherwise, Amanda, I would just recommend rewatching this to learn about time tracking and things. So Cinnamon's a night owl too. Your springtime is around 2 to 3 a.m. Yeah. Well, I am a morning person and I am definitely not firing 2 to 3 a.m. So yeah, I just wanted to talk quickly since we're at the Witch's New Year, and I know it can feel overwhelming to people. Like, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? We have a whole nother New Year's thing, and what's gonna work for me? Do I have to celebrate both? Am I not supposed to celebrate one? Like, you can do both. So that's it. Just a really quick chatty chat for you today on this Tuesday afternoon. And yeah, so Carrie's sneaking in work while listening. So bad at tracking. I have my good moments. Like I had in this past lunar cycle, I fell by the way. I think I had like bits and pieces on my lunar thing. It was very sparse. I had like multiple trips away from home, a family visit, a wretched head cold, and it just was like not. I didn't keep up with anything. Not just that, like everything in my life fell by the wayside this past month. But you know, the more you track things and look at your day in different ways and your seasons, you know, the better you are able to muggle in the Muggle world. It's even helpful in learning to communicate with other people because like we just talked about here, some people are night people, some people are morning people. And like we know that, right? But when we really start to pay attention to our ebbs and flows in a different way in relation to the world around us, and then we can apply that to the people in our lives, it can help with your relationships. It can change communication completely. For example, and anybody who's been here for a while knows I'm always griping about my husband, but one of the things with us is I'm a morning person and he is not a morning person. And that presents us with and he's a night person and I'm not. And this presents us with a variety of different problems because of just like our parenting situation and things like that. But I can also see through tracking. So I know that on a Muggle level, like I know that I'm a night person, or I know I'm a morning person, that he's a night person. But I can also look at it a little bit differently when I do actual tracking and see which parts of the day are we both like kind of in alignment. Like where does his spring overlap with my summer? You know, or like where does his summer overlap with my fall part of the day? And those overlapping parts, because I'm still firing in fall. It's not my best, but I'm still firing, and he's really firing in his summer. So where that overlaps, that is probably a good time for us to tackle projects together, right? Whereas like if I've moved into summer and he's still into winter and I'm trying to make him do a project with me, we're probably going to get in an argument. Or like when he's in his autumn and I'm like well into my winter, like we're going to get in an argument. So if I can see where these like sweet spots of my fall and his summer overlap, then that's better. And you can do that on a daily level. You can do that in a monthly lunar cycle level. You can do that in like even a whole year. So when you start to, of course, you're not going to like just plan like, oh, we're going to paint our bedroom on December 2nd a year from now because that's when our seasons overlap. But but kind of like that, you know, where you just like you become in tune to it and you can feel the rhythms and the vibes. So start paying attention to these things. And my husband's not magically inclined, so I just like kind of note it from what I can see. Of course, I'm not him. And try to drag him into the dark side with me. But yeah, so it can really change the way that you live and communicate with people around you too. So it's a really cool thing to do. So yeah, nice to see you, Ellie. I'm glad you enjoyed that or found your reading interesting. Amanda's asking what colors work best with sacred spaces. Depends on what you're making your sacred space for. Amanda, check out our Enrich Your Life free class we just did. It's in the video section. You can find the five videos should be in there. We'll try to put them on YouTube soon too. I should write that down. I'm gonna write that down right now. YouTube Enrich, so we can put them all in one place. And we talk about sacred spaces there and things like that. But really, it just kind of depends on what you're doing. There's no, Amanda, in this group, there's no right answers as long as it feels good to you. Hi, Yvonne. Yvonne's joining us in Salem in May. Amazing. Let's see here. Angela is a morning person. Husband is a night owl. Yeah, nope. Yep, I'm the same. And yeah, cool. So that's it. Quick one today. I'm off to, I got to finish up. Ellie just mentioned her reading. I've got a Witches New Year reading and 2 past life readings to do. Past life readings. And I have the Everyday Magic kickoff chat at 2 o'clock today. So I'm off to do those things. And then pack up the children and go visit the ancestors at the cemeteries this afternoon. So lots more of my day ahead of me, even though I'm a morning person and we're shifting out of that time. I'm still feeling good. Still feeling good. Yeah, Amanda, check those things out because there's tons of resources in the group and links in those emails. So Michelle loves Everyday Magic. I do too. I'm excited to switch it into like a different thing next year, but it's the class I think that made the Sisters Enchanted, which you know, a long time ago now. Well, not a long time ago, but a long time ago in perspective of things, I guess, to now. That made no sense. I digress, and I don't know what to talk. I'm making no sense, nor do I know what I'm talking about. Randy is still working on decluttering from Inwitch. Extra bursts of inspiration. Yeah, keep decluttering. Yes, Amanda. But Amanda, check out the free stuff and like see if you can find your direction in that stuff. Michelle loved the holistic idea. I think it's gonna be good. And yeah, like I think Michelle and Ellie, I think like you guys, for example, are in all these little classes. So it's just gonna like roll in for you and be good and fun and amazing. Erica, which would be better for a beginner, Enchanted or Everyday Magic? They're kind of they're the same but different. Everyday Magic is, I guess Everyday Magic is we go over all of the beginner stuff in Everyday Magic, but it's good for non-beginners too. It's like, can just help you jumpstart and refresh. And in an Enchanted Journey, every month is a new adventure. There's like, Enchanted Journey, it's basically like a giant living grimoire book of shadows, I think. Like, if I could describe it the best, I think Enchanted Journey is basically like a big living digital book of shadows with like lots of information. Like if you're like, oh, I need to do this, you can kind of like flip through the digital library, find your thing, and there it is. Whereas Everyday Magic is more succinct and like we move through the steps together in a more cohesive way. So, but Everyday Magic, you do get a free trial month of Enchanted Journey too. So there's that. And you can still sign up and if you want to. Anyway, I was here to talk about time, but thank you guys for asking these questions. I appreciate it. Yvonne says, if you can do both, I love Enchanted Journey. Yes, and Jessie loves it too. Thank you guys for saying that. Yeah, Enchanted Journey, I think it's basically just like at this point, like a living book of shadows. It changes, there's new things, there's just tons of information. And we got to get our 2019 underway for that. But thank you guys. Well, thank you guys for talking time with me. I hope this gave you something to think about, some food for thought on your All Hallows Eve. And yeah, all right. Thank you guys for being here. And hi, Jen, Edmund, and Natasha. Thank you all. I love you guys. I love you more. Okay, I'm going to go now. I'll see you guys later if you're in Everyday Magic, and otherwise I'll see you around this group. Have a great rest of your day. Make it an enchanted one, and happy Halloween. Okay, bye.